Alright, I'm just going to let it go and we can talk or not talk whenever we want.
Okay, well, the main things to consider when you do an RF project is that it is not to focus on the RF portion of it, not to focus on the technology, but rather think about what it is that you need to address, what the main problem is, and fully define that before you go and inserting RF into it. So many people start with the devices first, and the hardware representative comes in and shows them all these keying devices and explains to them what they can do, and then asks them how many and what color they want. But the thing to instead do is focus on it like a traditional project. Lay out what your objectives are, lay out what you perceive as the highest returns on investment you're going to get from achieving those objectives, and then go for the low-hanging fruit. So you want to, for instance, if you're doing a data collection project inside of a warehouse, what is that one process that's going to get you the most return on the investment that you're going to make in modifying your processes slightly to fit this new paradigm of data collection, and obviously be able to pay for your RF backbone and the installation and the training that's going to be required to use that. So I guess my best advice would be that an RF project is not greatly different than any other project, except for that the outcomes can be so much better or worse depending on how well you manage the project right out of the gate by identifying your objectives and engineering a solution to meet those. One thing that I've always said is that we can take your bad business processes and speed them up by 5 times using automatic data collection, but that's not the point. The point is to be able to prune out the inefficiencies in your processes and use the real-time aspect of it to greatly enhance your ability to deliver services and be more efficient.
Perfect. Great response.
The major advantages of RF versus other data collection methods. The biggest thing that RF data collection brings to the table is the real-time aspect. And by real-time, it means that the information is, if done properly, is on demand in the user's hands. And that information could be direction, meaning they're getting direction from a warehouse management system saying this is the next order to pull and these are the items to pull on the order and this is where they're located. So proceed to your next location and pull 5 cases of product XYZ. The other thing that it provides is real-time validation. So the user goes to that location to pull those items and he scans the barcode and the system gives him feedback immediately if he scanned the wrong barcode. So it provides you an efficiency in that you don't have to go back and correct mistakes that might occur because the user was inattentive or the paperwork was messed up. Or, for instance, another high value add is the user goes to pull something that's in a warehouse and that's not available when he goes to that location. Well, 2 things can happen then. One is he can scan the location and do an instant cycle count and say that there's nothing available in this location. So the inventory is updated right then, which provides more accuracy in the long run. And the second thing is he can query the system as to what the best alternative for this might be. And the system will suggest one and direct him to that location. So he can continue picking and gain a lot of efficiency in having the orders more fully picked and not have to go back to the office and look it up and figure out what to do next. So the RF infrastructure, whether it be within the 4 walls or out in a field service application, is that interaction with the system to get information to be able to do your job more quickly and efficiently.
This is going to be the easiest one yet. It's like hardly any editing. Some of the other ones I've had to like take out long gaps or uhs and ands or, hang on, let me think about it for a second. And it's harder because you're trying to reposition ahead so that it doesn't just automatically jump over here if they lean a little bit or something. But it's been free flowing.
Oh yeah,
great. Yeah.
The fucking ones. Well, this is sort of like, remember I said I had done the Toastmasters thing? They have a section in Toastmasters called Table Topics. And you go up to the front of the room and you pick a piece of paper off the table and read it, and it says, tell us about your favorite vacation and why it was your favorite vacation. And right then,
off the top.
Yeah. And there's a guy there counting the ums and the ahs.
Well, it's amazing. Even doing interviews in moving chairs with some of the sales guys, they would come all the way in and all the way out of the frame because they're just swiveling. And I'm like, all right, you gotta stop. So we're gonna put everybody in stationary chairs for now. And yeah, it's been.
Put them in a little head frame.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so I whipped those two out. 3 main benefits that RiseX offers versus our competition. Well, I've worked in the data collection industry since 1990, and I've worked for myself, and I've worked for a variety of other companies, some that are still around, and some that have gone by the wayside or been acquired by other companies. And one of the things that really attracted me to working at RiseX was the fact that there is such a breadth of offerings here. The customer has a chance to buy new equipment from a variety of manufacturers, or if they can't afford it, they can buy refurbished equipment. Or maybe it's not that they can't afford it, but they've already gotten a lot of equipment in play already and they want to buy matching equipment. So we have that at their disposal. Not only that, but we service that equipment and we support it from a professional services standpoint. So we have a bench that's deep enough and long-standing enough that we have engineers that remember how the older gear works, or they have configured that terminal emulation before. So that's a major advantage that we've got on other offerings from other vendors out there. Another thing is that we have a wide variety of services that we offer, from staging of the devices to on-site services to remote services and ongoing support. There are a lot of companies that talk about being able to do that, but when it comes down to it, they will either resell somebody else's services or they provide something that is not very deep, pretty shallow offering. And the main thing in buying it all from RiseX, the hardware, the professional services, the ongoing support, and the full use offering, is that whenever you have a problem, you just call one place and there's no finger pointing. We're not going to ever say to you, well, that's an Intermec issue, or that's a vendor XYZ issue, or an Opticon issue, because we take full responsibility for the installation and the service and the customer satisfaction. The third main advantage I can't think of right now, so we'll have to come back to that.
Okay.
But those are the 2 strongest ones.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're down to the walking through the technical services.
Can we put that on the table too?
Yeah.
Because it looks, your line of sight is better if you're kind of glancing
If
rather
I'm
than
glancing
doing,
down like that
doing
instead
this.
of looking off.
Yeah.
Okay. And we could put it behind Megan's head and I can squint. Okay. So the RiseX Professional Services offers 5 main areas of services that we've broken down just to make it easier for the customer to understand. The 5 categories are RF technical services, on-site technical services, and 3 others which I can't remember right now. Okay, take 2.
Take 2.
Take 2. The RiseX group offers 5 main categories of professional services for our customer base. They're organized in that way so that it's easy for them to understand and more straightforward for our sales force to represent. Those would be the RF technical services, the on-site technical services that we have, staging services where we provide service before they actually receive the hardware, some standard consulting services where we add value from our experience in implementing systems in the past, and then something that we call advanced technical services, which are offerings that are above and beyond and a little more esoteric. So let me go through those one by one. The RF technical services are your traditional technical services for putting in RF networks. They would be the site survey. After that, after the acceptance of the site survey, we would do the backbone installation, which goes soup to nuts. I mean, it could be that we just hang the access points after the customer has fulfilled the other requirements of the site survey that we provided, or perhaps we'll install all the cabling and do all the terminations, install the backboards and the antennas, lighting arresters, then the access points, even the RF controller, and then bring the whole system live. And then after that we do a validation where we go through and we do a passive site survey to assure coverage and data rates that we promised in the site survey. The other thing that we do in RF technical services is provide troubleshooting services. So for instance, it's not unusual to have a customer contract with us to do the RF site survey, but then they bring in their own people to do cabling and hanging the access points and try and take it on their own. And a lot of times that works and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't work, we can provide a service where we come in and do troubleshooting and write up a report and assessment. Sometimes we even fix it when we're on site doing the troubleshooting to make the RF system work properly. Or another case that's not that unusual, especially since radio frequency has been out for a while now, is that the person or department that installed it or company that installed it is fallen by the wayside, or it was so long ago that they have lost the knowledge base on how the system works. So we can come in and document the system as they have it now, create what's called an as-built document to say these are the number of access points you have, this is how they're configured, and even tack on some recommendations as to what enhancements we might make to make it work more efficiently. Along with that report, we can document all the assets and what their configurations and firmware levels are, and make recommendations on updates that we think would make the system more efficient or keep it up to date.